Malo tau lava mai, this is Pacific Waves from RNZ Pacific, ko au Koroi Hawkins. Coming up, Tonga is just days away from hosting the Pacific Islands Forum Leaders Summit, and frantic efforts are still needed to ensure visiting dignitaries are housed.
I think the concern has been the prefab homes, the 150 that are being constructed. Less than half of those are ready for occupation.
Also, hundreds of Pacifica leaders have paid tribute to Kiingi Tuuheitia at this week's Koroneihana celebrations.
It's rare for the community to be here at Tuurangawaewae, together with the king and all of his entourage.
And St. Vincent de Paul's organisations in New Zealand are supporting their Tonga counterparts to open their first shop in Nuku'alofa. The Pacific Islands Forum Leaders Summit is just days away from opening in Nuku'alofa in Tonga, and frantic efforts are still needed to ensure visitors are housed. Don Wiseman spoke with RNZ Pacific's Tonga correspondent Kalafi Moala about this and other matters to do with the summit. But he began by talking about this week's dramatic revelations of 17 people arrested over 10 days on charges of importing to sell millions of paanga worth of methamphetamine.
First up, if we can talk about this, what appears to have been a highly coordinated series of drug raids over the past couple of weeks, an impressive haul of methamphetamine and interesting array of people.
Yes, there's 17 that have been arrested recently, and I just heard there's going to be more coming up. The leaders of this group that have been arrested are deportees. One of them have been identified as a deportee from Australia. But I think the interesting thing is there's a build-up of, or there has already been a build-up of a gang, a group that have been formed here in Tonga. And they are suspected to be one of the main distributors of drugs here. And there's a lot of money involved. There's a lot of assets like cars and motorbikes that have been confiscated with this arrest. The word that we get from the police is that they've been waiting for the right time to do this. They have been following and have known about this for some time. And this arrest is a result of an investigation. They felt it's the right time to do so.
You would think in a small place like Tongatapu, it's very hard to hide this sort of activity.
Absolutely. Very true. I think there's a lot more people that know about what's going on, and they just kind of either look the other way or just kind of shrug their shoulders and think that's none of my business. But the encouraging thing to us here that live here is that the police had their eyes on this and they're at least doing something about it.
Do you think the upcoming Forum Summit would have prompted them in any way?
No, because they've been doing this for some time. In fact, they would have avoided doing the arrest at this particular time if they were trying to make an impression on the forum, because it doesn't go well for Tonga in terms of reputation. Do it right at the time when they're visitors. But I talked to one of my sources in the police department, and they say they finally got everything that they needed. And the timing of the arrest had nothing to do with the forum. It was just the right time for them to do so.
In terms of the forum, we've talked at length about the issues with whether there'll be enough housing, but I understand that some of it at least has now been opened and is ready to occupy, or is it?
That's correct. The temporary housing that have been set up is 150 prefab houses, and they are in 4 different locations. The biggest location was opened on this past week. In fact, was open on Saturday. The interesting thing is no one is living there yet. The accommodation is in another location. In fact, the location where the actual meetings will take place, right in town. The housing there has been open. That's where they're opening a media center, and quite a number of the journalists that have arrived in Tonga early, particularly from the PIF, from Pacific Island Forum, they're already staying there. The other 2 locations where the housing is set up is not yet completed. And I think this may be an embarrassment to the government, because they're giving out press releases and telling people that it's already completed, it will be finished. But there are 2 locations, and I have just visited those locations today, and there's nothing inside those houses. It's still empty. There are no beds. They're still trying to connect the pipes. And this is Wednesday, and the people are arriving before the weekend. So I don't know what they're thinking, but the organizers here, they must be worried, but they're trying to put on a good impression. They're going to have housing for everybody, and I'm hoping that they do.
Now, there had been a call put out by the government to ask residents if they would be happy to put visitors up.
And there has been a lot of response to that. There are people that are opening up their homes, even with government assistance, to fix up 1 or 2 rooms that are open in a home. And what I have heard as of yesterday, that some of those homes that have opened up are already booked to be occupied. I think the concern has been the prefab homes, the 150 that are being constructed. Less than half of those are ready for occupation. The other half, they're still fixing it.
Now, as far as the forum goes, it's clearly a very important event for Tonga, and Tonga takes the chairmanship of the organisation. What would be the most important things for Tonga? What are they looking to come out of the meeting?
Based on the activities that have been going on in the last few months, I believe Tonga is really looking very much to see that this BIF conference is going to help bring in funding for Tonga, funding for things like the climate change impact funding that they need, funding for development economically and socially. I think those are kind of things that this government is reaching out for. They feel that there could be some key friendships that will come out of this BIF conference. And the fact that it's in Tonga, I think they're hoping that the visitors will at least see Tonga and see the kind of things that needs development, and hopefully will provide funding for. You've got to remember that the Secretary General of the United Nations is going to be visiting here. And that's a first time, I believe, for a forum. You have a number of other development partners that are going to be observers or guests. Whether it's from France or from China, from Japan, they're going to be here. So it's a very important thing for Tonga. The interesting thing, though, is that there is training going on now for journalists that are visiting on just how to cover Pacific Island Forum. And the training was started off with 2 of the government journalists basically announcing to the training sessions to watch out for foreigners, foreign journalists who will be here to give Tonga a bad name. And basically it was a propaganda advertisement to say, hey, let's have some good stories for Tonga. And of course, that's why this story about the drug arrest and so on is, in the view of government, it's not a good time. It's not a good story. But it was interesting that at the beginning of the sessions this week, they continue to say, watch out for the foreigners who are here to give Tonga a bad name, the foreign journalists. Let's give Tonga some good stories.
More than 300 Pasifika leaders representing nations throughout the Pacific have paid tribute to Kiingi Tuuheitia at Koroneihana celebrations hosted at Tuurangawaewae Marae. King Tupou VI sat alongside Kiingi Tuuheitia as members of the delegation shared words of support celebrating the 18th anniversary of the Koroneihana of Kiingi Tuuheitia. The Pacific Leadership Forum, a union of sovereign Pacific organizations and leaders in New Zealand, led the contingent connecting Pacific nations and Te Ao Māori. Grace Fiavai was there.
Colourful flowers, well-woven mats, tapa cloth as old as time, and rimu from Dawson Road were among sightings in commemoration of the Māori King's Koroneihana, where people from Te Moana Nui a Kiwa came together in full force to celebrate. 11 Pacific nations joined the celebrations, with each speaker presenting their koha, followed by songs of celebration. The event portrayed an array of Pacific cultures. displaying the bond across the moana, emphasising a resounding theme of unity and support for te ao Māori. Pakilau o Aotearoa Manase Lua, a proud Tongan, says they came to show solidarity with the tangata whenua cousins.
I think this will be a start of a new corridor, a new talanoa between the moana, our blue continent. You know, there's a lot of influences from China, America coming into the Pacific. Aotearoa has an important place to play because we're custodians of the moana. There's more Pacific people here than some of our islands back home. So there's a huge influence from Aotearoa. That's why we're here today, to show solidarity. We're one people.
Youngsters like Aingangale Fili Fepuleai Tapuai, an award-winning poet and Pacific youth advocate, came to support her father, who spoke on behalf of all Samoans present. She says it's important for her to attend as the future of the Pacific.
A lot of the issues that we face were intertwined, and so the solutions and our generations have to be as well. So as a young person, I'm really honoured and blessed to be here.
Pacific Leadership Forum Chairman Te Leiai Edwin Puni acknowledged the historic occasion and pledged support to the Kotahitanga movement launched by Kiingi Tuuheitia earlier this year.
Pacific people have been residing in New Zealand for over 70 years, but it's the very first time that we have been invited onto Tuurangawaewae by invitation of Kiingi Tuuheitia, and we're very grateful. We think it's the beginning of reconnecting Pacific and Māori.
Each Pacific nation came bearing gifts, each with cultural value and historic significance. Pakilau says the Tongan community gifted the king a ngatu called launima, which was 50 feet long.
His Majesty King Te Paul VI is here, and this is a special day for Tongans because it's rare for the community to be here at Tuurangawaewae, together with the king and all of his entourage. We've got a launima, which is a huge tapa cloth. It's a Tongan launima. It's about 50 feet long or longer, and we're going to gift it to the king from the Tongan community.
The Rotumans were also present. Siosi Susau and the Rotuman community presented a taonga called Te Fui, which symbolises the land, culture and values of the Rotuman people.
The Rotuman community, New Zealand Rotuman Fellowship, will donate this as a gift to Kiingi Tuuheitia during his coronation, and it's a Te Fui. The Te Fui is a symbol of the people of Rotuman. It represents the land, the culture, the values that are dear to our Rotuman people. It is a gesture of friendship and shows pride in our culture. It is an honor to be here today and to represent the Rotuman people across the Aotearoa.
These two women, Lisa Murgatroyd and Rosina Lavanawau, presented gifts from different islands in Vanuatu.
In Vanuatu, we're a very diverse island, so all this gift here, it's from different islands in Vanuatu.
This one is more kind of a chiefly title, like when you become a leader and you have something that is called tam-tam, and the chief leader will use this as a sound. And when they had the sound going, people in the village will know that they are calling to come to the wharea or to come to the whale. So this is really representing us giving this to the Kiingi today to say he is the voice of our people.
Laisene Tapuai Fepuleai from Samoa says this is only the beginning of many more beautiful things to come.
It's the beginning of beautiful things and new things and a lot of good things to come.
St. Vincent de Paul organizations in New Zealand are sending a container load of clothing, household utensils and medical goods to their sister organization in Tonga. The Tonga branch is being supported to open its first ever shop in the kingdom in September. Last week, St. Vincent de Paul in Porirua sent 41 banana boxes of goods to Auckland to be shipped to Tonga, along with donations from other chapters around the country. St. Vincent de Paul Twinning Coordinator, Arthur Schultz, says the Tonga Shop initiative is the first of its kind for St. Vincent de Paul and is an integral part of a 3-year strategic plan to help them with their work and support for families in need in the kingdom. Mr. Schultz says they are also sending pallets of medical equipment to support their sister organizations in Samoa. He spoke with RNZ Pacific reporter Grace Fiavai, who began by asking how they decide what to send to the islands.
So it's what they request. It's not what we think they should have. They tell us what they need, or if we come up with goods, we'll contact them and find out, does this fit? Can they make use of it? So this is part of something that's been ongoing for in my time. I think this is probably about the second time I've been involved in sourcing equipment to fit this area of our aid.
How long has it been going for?
New Zealand's relationship with regards to Sir Vincent de Paul with Tonga and Samoa, I think has been going on for close to 40 years. So it's in various forms of aid. The majority of our aid is focused around, a lot of the time has been around disasters or weather events, or during COVID we were involved sending equipment. So there's a lot of material aid goes into the area. We also send quite a bit of money at times where they can source goods locally and all the rest of it. To give you an example, we're coming close to concluding quite a big project in Tonga, which was first thought about 6 years ago. What we've done is we have built them a building which is going to be a shop, but they've also have space where they can perhaps offer welfare assistance, advice on budgeting or things like that, because we have members up there in Tonga who have skills in that area. So that's another big project that's coming to fruition.
When will that be
at the moment?
Launched?
That'll be completed at the end of September. It's going to be officially opened around about the 27th of September, I think it is, last Friday in September, and hopefully I'll be up there for the opening. So, but that's been quite a challenging project, because in the meantime we've had COVID, tsunamis, volcanoes, and plus with the rising sea level thing, the building code has been built very much around New Zealand. So there's all these things that come into play. So the project, we're just about there, and it's been a great project, and it's going to be really beneficial. Give them ownership, helping their own people on the ground up there, and where they need help and all the rest of it. Also currently in Samoa, we're working through with the rebuilding of forfales within Samoa at the moment for families that have either solo mothers or grandmothers looking after kids, or they've got reckless storms or something like that. I use the word fortunately, which is probably not right. I've seen the effects of these things when I visit Tonga and Samoa. So the funding's been sent, so it's going to take most of this year for them to finish it. So currently, yes, the big thing is this shop project, which is coming to fruition in Tonga, and this equipment for the medical equipment and stuff like that is just goods that they will use to assist the people up there.
So the shop, it's in which village, or is it in town? Or?
Okay, the shop being built is in Nuku'alofa, the capital. It's actually been built on part of the church, the cathedral land on the waterfront. So it fronts onto Vuna Road, VUNA. So it's about opposite where there's a big Saturday market or weekend market in Tonga. So it's going to be pretty highly visible in its location, and it's probably going to be a world first as far as the society goes for countries that receive aid.
When you say
developed
world
something
first,
like this.
how is this going to be world first?
Oh, it's going to be this project where we're creating a shop for one of our receiving countries. It's probably not been done anywhere else in the world. I go do a little bit of research, so I'm confident what we're building in Tonga to take ownership of something where it's only got some pride in the work they're doing of helping the needy within their country through creating funding by selling to the people that want to buy from them. At the same time, they'll have the ability to distribute goods to people who are really needy.
And so do the funds then come back to you guys, or what goes?
No, this is all managed in Tonga. What we'll be doing is once a year, and this will be there's a container going up in the next 2 or 3 weeks, 2/3 of a 20-foot container will be clothing and household goods.
Gotcha. So
they'll have that to stock their shop, yeah.
So it's like an aid shop?
There's a little business there. Sorry?
Is it like an aid shop, would you like, so they'd have...
Well, I suspect you could use that term, yeah. It's a Sir Vincent de Paul shop within a Tonga. and it's run by what we call the National Council of Sir Vincent de Paul in Tonga. It's up to them to run it. We encourage them to be proactive, and we're there to support them financially and with material aid.
Sorry, could you tell me a little bit more about, the banana boxes? So how many boxes are you sending?
Well, I know that Pororoo itself is sending up 40 plus banana boxes of clothing. Some areas have already sent clothing. Talking to my contact in Auckland, because I'm based in Napier, he said to me that the container is the storage unit, which is the equivalent of a 20-foot container, is well over half full. And I know there is quite a bit of stuff to come from one or two other areas. So we're going to have close to a container load of material aid going to Tonga within the next 2 or 3 weeks.
And is that including Samoa as well, or do they have to?
Samoa will do a separate shipment of some of the medical equipment, and whether it maybe not a container load, but maybe 2 or 3 pallet loads of medical equipment going to them.
That's Pacific Waves for today. For all episodes, head over to rnz.co.nz/Pacific. We're also on Spotify, Apple, and iHeartRadio. From myself and the RNZ Pacific team, Mo Nofoa.